Hi class. Today we're going to dive a little bit more into how search works and also look at long tail keywords. I'm going to walk you through an example about bagels in New York City. But before we dive in, let's take a look at where we land. When we're looking at the google.com, essentially their homepage, we can see that there's different options that Google has on their page. One of my favorite is how search works. What this is, when we click on it, is it takes us to essentially an overview of Google search. There's different featured topics, including generative AI or artificial intelligence in search, and also how your data is captured within search. So I'd love for you to take a look at this resource and look at how Google talks about protecting your privacy and then helping creators succeed online. There's a lot of different resources. What this is it's mostly an overview of what Google is saying that they do, what happens when you search, what does that look like, and how they continue to improve search. So I'll let you watch these videos on your own, but what I would love for you to take a look at especially is these first two videos. What happens when you do a Google search, and then also how Google continues to improve search. If you'd like, you can watch the other ones as well. But essentially what we're going to be looking at today is what it looks like when we have our experience on Google search through a specific set of keywords that we're looking for. If you want, you can also go through the history of search. There's quite some in-depth knowledge here and resources in the sense of Google started in 1997 just as a PageRank index, and you'll hear more about that as you go through some of the resources. But it talks about PageRank and why that was developed. And essentially that was from Larry Page and Sergey Brin for developing search, and essentially as a way of sorting information. Think of it almost like a card catalog, and then when it goes all the way through, we go through, let's see, one of my favorite sections is 2016, we had mobile get-in. So essentially that was when things started to become more optimized for mobile, and it was mobile first. But take a look through here, you'll see like different ways that Google is always optimizing and trying to improve search information. We have, of course, our times that have marked our place and time that have been marked by pandemics such as this, and you'll see that sometimes the information was improved to essentially provide better search results. So when people were at home and there wasn't necessarily this interaction, there was more information that was actually Google put out to improve search results to match the intent of what people were looking for. So again, would love for you to take a look at this timeline and just kind of look at where search has came from and where we are now. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. So when I'm on Google search, let's say that I'm looking for something specific. I'm looking for, in this instance, the best bagels in New York City. So this is a long tail keyword because I'm using more than one or two words. So we define a long tail keyword as something that's 3 to 5 words at least. So if I were to just put in bagels could be general, right? That means I could be shopping to go to the grocery store. That means I could be just looking for how to make bagel recipes. It also means I could be looking for a store near me. And so we really are trying to tell Google what the intent is. So in this search, let's say I'm planning a trip to go to New York. And if I am, then I want to look for the best bagels in New York City. So when I look at the search engine result page, what I'll see some articles. Well, of course, what plays into these are domain authority. And domain authority is essentially how credible a domain is. If the domain is really credible, then it will show, their type of content will show up at the top of the page. So this example, New York City, for New York City Best Bagels is New York Times. That makes sense because they're a credible source. They're in New York City, and so you're going to see them at the top of the page. Then we're seeing a lot of user-generated content. So Reddit is really becoming a source and hub for authentic user-generated information that's about the topic. So you'll see that there's several threads on Reddit that are talking about what are the best bagels. Then we're going to get down into maps. So the Google Map experience is going to show you what is on the map and who has the best bagels in New York City, which is great because look at this. This person was pretty smart to name their coffee shop, I'm guessing, bagel and coffee shop, their restaurant, as Best Bagels. That's a pretty genius idea because people who are looking for the qualifying term best they're going to surface at the top. So then we get into these like quick snippets or instant answers, and we're going to see that these are actually provided by web pages on the internet. This is very similar to generative AI. When we look at a search result and we see at the top of the SERP that there is a section that has text on there that is pulled together, that is typically from generative AI. And so what it does is it pulls together the top pages that have information and turns out an answer of what you're looking for. So under here we can see that this one which says what is the most popular bagel in New York City. This is the resource from TripAdvisor. If we look at what is the oldest bagel bakery in New York City, we're seeing that the resource is Cooking with Jade. And so imagine that you have a cooking blog and your name is Jade, you have Cooking with Jade. You started to create content around the oldest bagel bakery in New York City, and now you're showing up on Google. That's quite a feat because some of these resources have high domain authority. Like for example, we saw at the top the New York Times. Here we go with another more local source with the New York Bakery Company Food Service. And then we see City Pass has information showing up at top with Wikipedia. So it goes on and on and on. And we can start to look at, this is actually the site who is surfacing the information. So that's where search engine marketing comes in. If you write good information, Google will pick up your information and surface it on the search engine result page. When we come down a little bit farther, we're going to see that there's videos on it, whether it's YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. We'll see the discussions and forums section. And then we're also going to see events and offers. As we keep scrolling, we're going to get to a point where we can either change our search or we can go to the next page. Keep in mind, as we go to the next page, these results, most people do not click on the next page. So these results are going to be a little bit more sparse, right? So if we're ranking on second page, more than likely people aren't going to find our information. So we want to make sure that we have top ranking information. So these are personalized results right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try it without personalized results. We'll see what we see now. So not personalized results gives me a whole different experience. So what I'm seeing now is that Hungry Onion is the first source. Let me make sure I'm on page 1 actually. So actually I still have the same. We still have the New York Times as the top source. These look very similar to what I had seen before. So I didn't really see much change by not personalizing the results. Let's take this back a step. So again, this is a long tail keyword. If I was just to say bagel, this is really just a keyword. And again, I'm just getting information about bagels, where they originated from. Maybe I'm getting some results close to me. Wikipedia is one of those top sources. But as I start to iterate on this term, so then I'm going to say best bagel. So this is not yet a long tail keyword. This is just, again, it's a qualifier to a term. So when I see this, I'm going to look around, and most of these again are local because I'm not giving it a location. But I am seeing some content come in from other outlets like Instagram, Facebook, X. But again, most of those are local. So that's where I put a location on it. If I go best bagel in NYC, we already did that one. Let's do Brooklyn and see how our results change. When we say we want the best bagel in Brooklyn, our results are going to update to be specific with the location map first. And then we're going to see the Reddit user-generated content, and then it goes down into Bagel Fest. See that we lost that New York City that we had, the New York Times ranking that we had on the first search that we did. That's because we're getting very narrow. So we're getting into an area of New York City. So now we're seeing this come up. We're seeing like the BBC, which is talking about bagels in Brooklyn. So whatever you're going to write for, you want to make sure that your long tail keywords, your keywords that you're optimizing for, are really strategic, because while you may not show up for best bagels New York City, you may show up for best bagels in Brooklyn. So let's take a look at this a little bit further. So this is a long tail keyword, best bagels Brooklyn. So for keyword optimization, we really don't need any of the stop words, which are like a, of, the, in, because we're really just looking at what are those keywords that have meaning that Google can pick up. So for this, I'm going to say best bagel Brooklyn open late. Oops. When I take a look at this search, what I'm going to see is I'm only seeing a little bit on maps, and then we still see that Bagel Fest up top. But then it does change our search into some of the Eater, New York, Kiora, and city data. Let's take a look at this and say, change our search again. Let's say we want to do best everything bagel, New York City. Let's just do NYC because Google knows what we're talking about. And we're going to see some of the same resources, but again, we're going to see some new ones, like this something curated. And then we do say our New York Times again. So see, these are resources. When you develop content, you don't have control over what the user experience is, because your content is going to be placed next to other content. However, you want to make it engaging, and you do want to make it something that's click-worthy. Let's say that someone's gluten-free. Let's say you wanted to look for the best everything bagel gluten-free. I don't even know if this is a thing, but then you're going to see more shopping results. So this would be more of things that are sent to you rather than see how our maps experience changed. We don't have the maps up top. It's because we don't have a location. So if we did best bagel gluten-free and then put in a location, then we're going to see the maps or the places. It's just down the page. What that is showing is that the intent of someone looking for something gluten-free, it's going to pop up an article that's related specifically to gluten-free, rather than when we did that search before, we didn't see the term gluten-free. So that's how search can change depending on what keywords you put in and what you're asking Google to return. So for this, our long tail keyword would be best everything bagel gluten-free New York City. So in that, we have 6 words. So that's a long tail keyword. Then any of the ones that we had gone through before are variations of that. And you can see that in this list. So let's take out the gluten-free. Let's see, paleo. Paleo friendly. I don't know if bagels could be paleo friendly, but there is information about it within some different blogs. So essentially that would be like more low carb. But this is another long tail keyword. So if you were really speaking to the paleo friendly community, then that is what you could enter. So another one is, let's see, best fast bagels. We are on a timeline. We're in New York City. So we want to know who makes them quickly. Best quick bagel spots. This is a good resource looking at Reddit. When we click into Reddit, you can see that there's quite a bit of information just in people's comments. Google is picking up more of this, and you'll see that they do put resources in there. Brands can use this for searching as well. Here we go. A couple more resources, but we don't see the same resources we saw in our original search. So keep in mind that however we end up changing our search is going to impact the search experience that we have on the SERP. And that's one of the biggest things I want to focus on at this time, is that our keywords are so important to what we end up seeing on the search engine result page. So I'm going to pause there and we'll pick this up in our next sessions. But just wanted to iterate that keywords, the importance of them, and we'll learn how to do keyword research in future sessions. And then also keep in mind that when you are searching on Google, the information is generated by pages, by content that's existing that people create, people just like you and me. So when we're starting to look for information like how to make bagels, this information is created from people who are writing about it. Someone who has a food blog, someone who has a recipe on just listed on the web or on the internet that Google crawls. And if I try it without personalization, I'm still seeing very similar results. So thank you for joining me when we're taking a look at the search engine result page. I hope that you learned a little bit about how that experience can be so different depending on what we're looking at. And I can't wait to dive into this topic more with you.